Need to lock in half of it now,
Yeah.
then they will finish it off. Whether it's going to be Ruler or Dura that's going to be locking the champ, that is what we're about to find out. But I do feel like Engage isn't as much of an issue if Keen is willing to be a madman and doesn't fall too far behind. Because you just run the Olaf in there, and then the Galio's on top of him. You've got Elise in, safeguarding around, getting into backlines and things like that. It's not as much of a big deal, but that is the Ruler Kalista we were talking about. A little bit of a different flavor as Gen G aim for a little bit more mid-game.
So presumably going to be Renata on 5. And yeah, this is really just that death ball. It's going to be difficult for Carrier to go in without just getting mangled by this composition. Now, for the side of T1, what are we going to see into Keen? Is it just going to be that Jax? Is it going to be the Vayne? And also, I think for Oner, having a ball delivery system is pretty important. We've seen Pantheon work in a pinch.
Like this. Okay, he's going to go for it.
Vayne comes out into the Olaf, and so many of these Olaf matchups, they're not surefire. We know we've seen the Vayne be very successful in the LCK, but it's not like a guaranteed you pick Vayne, you win. A lot of it's going to come down to Doran being able to outplay Keen in that matchup.
And so many of these Vayne drafts that we've seen with the Vayne attempting to answer the Olaf just leaves the draft so wonky. And this is another example of that, right? You've got double AD carries, you've got an incredibly flimsy support, and then you've got an Orianna that does have defensive capabilities, but Oner has to be so far ahead of the curve for them to be able to play around any a lot, but the composition does kind of shape how that scaling is going to work. We'll see whether T1 can make it happen. Let's get onto the Rift here for game number 1. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 1. Okay, I missed one of the fan chants. I'll make sure that I leave it next time around. Sometimes it's hard to get into the idea.
They did the T1 fan chant, and then it took a while for it to settle down so they could do the Gen G fan chant.
That is what I then realized. I thought maybe the other side of the arena wasn't mic'd up, and that's what I was hoping was to be the case, and not that there is just no Gen G fans there.
Well, they did come in the back end, but there was a lot of T1 fans who were kind of occupying the space, so...
A much better outcome in the end, as it turns out. But I imagine that tickets were difficult to get, as, you know, it's hard on the best of times here at Lowell Park. And now in the KSPO Dome, which is a pretty awesome stadium as well. There were a lot of like pre-game shows as well, if you were lucky enough to be at the stadium. So a lot of these home grounds, not just the games that you're coming for, it's all of the other stuff alongside it. It's a whole lot of fun. So if you ever do have a chance, if you're here in Korea, pop on over, because it's pretty awesome. Pretty sure Dagon went to the last one, as Dura's already flashing here on this bottom side. Carrier finding a great angle. Gets the heal and the flash out of Duro.
Such a good start. We often talk about the Camille pressure that you can have in the early levels. Kalista Renata quickly becomes problematic in the all-ins, but you get the jump in early before they'd even hit level 2. Flash bin by Duro is a pretty heavy cost to pay, and this just kind of links in with how Carrier and Paze have been performing excellently in the bot lane, the most fearsome bot lane 2v2 right now in the world.
They are very, very frightening. As Chovy, not so much. He's on the Olaf, having a little bit of a rough time here as Keen is just going to get condemned by Doran. Keen has been throwing his axe around, though, and has been able to at least clear out some waves. And so he's going to be able to crash a little bit underneath this turret for Doran to deal with. Still the Vayne doing what it says on the tin, right? Ahead by about 10 CS right now.
We've seen Keen go this before, the Ignite and the Storm Raider Surge. The Storm Raiders... Ooh.
Chovy, that's one more auto, and Faker just says, you flash, buddy. I don't need to.
Really well played there by Faker. This is why they prioed the Orianna so heavily. And also just, as you said, right next to the tower, Chovy has to flash because a flash auto would have killed him, but Faker just retains his summoner spell, which is also massive into Galio Lee Sin, where the gank pressure is very real.
Oh, both of these mid laners going to be coming back to lane, but Chovy not so lucky as far as that summoner spell is concerned. Has been able to keep up in farm very, very comfortably. But this is a great sign for T1, who I think do need to get off the ground running with a composition like this that can be difficult to play as we get later on into the game.
It also, for Gen G, makes their mid-jungle a little bit more awkward because so often you can just opt into a fight with Galio Lee Sin, the flash setup from Chovy, pretty much guaranteed you can 100-0 someone with both your damage and the...
Oh, that's a fantastic handshake, but still the stun comes through onto Duro. He doesn't have flash, remember, so does need to be very careful as the Ren from Ruler is pretty good follow-up. Still, Duro is going to have to make his way home. Okay, he's not going to be hit by that Pierce.
I think they're concerned about the jungler coming in, and Ona is here. That being said, Renata is very precarious to dive.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty tough one if they do decide to go for it, as there's the flash. Ruler cleanses to get himself out of the way. The handshake, unbelievable, and Ruler still has the bailout available. Picks up a double. Ona gets one back, but it's a disaster for T1.
As I said, very precarious to dive a Kalista Renata. And here, Ruler had both sums, but the mindset of T1 was we have to dive and kill the Kalista. The Kalista has to die because if we kill the Renata, the Kalista's still up. We're not in a good spot, but it was Duro who'd burned his sums earlier. Ruler still had them, and he put them to great use there. 2 kills early on the Kalista is fantastic. Here, we see Carrier set up.
Handshake, man.
Yeah, Carrier sets up the Q, and then the handshake comes in for the double stun. Carrier's already dead. Ruler hasn't even actually procced the bailout yet. It could have been a disaster if he'd actually died a little sooner and then got the reset onto Pays.
Yeah.
Then he could have just lived. But obviously the timing from Ona was good there, but overall just a big botch by T1 and a great defense by Gen G.
Well, Keen finds another undertow, actually. Looking for the angle towards Doran. Gets that last one. Doran will be able to chase him down just a little bit here, but this Olaf is kind of doing all right, despite it being a relatively difficult matchup, especially early on.
It's just so precarious because, you know, the Vayne has the Condemn to keep you at a distance if an axe does connect. You have the Tumble, obviously, to dodge out of the way of an axe. And at level 6, the invisibility goes a long way in all-ins, but you get hit by an axe as you're tumbling, and he can just chase you down through the Condemn, especially if you proc Storm Raiders. It can be really scary.
Well, you can see now, Keen pretty happy to be able to go for a back. Top lane has become a little bit more, I guess, dangerous with the fact that we don't have teleport taken early, right? You require that quest completion before you can make your way comfortably back to lane in a lot of these matchups. And it does mean that if you do manage to get a big crash like Keen just did, gives you the ability to recall without too much to give up, which would otherwise have been a problem.
That's the thing. With TP, we've seen times that top gangsters haven't really amounted to much because they get back in time, they don't miss much minions, much XP, much gold there. And yes, the kill gold is a factor, but it doesn't even always go to the top lane if it's a gank. But now, with the lack of TP, it often will just have more impact by default. Now, Gen G's setting up for this dragon, and T1 not opting to contest, which, to be honest, I think may just be the right call.
Yeah.
Given the Kalista Renata's strength in skirmishes like these.
Yeah, I think based on what happened underneath that turret earlier on, it's a good idea to be a little bit more chill. You did have Pays going back to base as well. Serrated Dirk is now picked up. I think if he had had that and was in lane when that dragon was started, maybe there was an opportunity because that is a decent spike in this early game. But he is back home, so not going to be the case. So first Drake does go over to Gen G. That is going to be a Infernal Drake, which means we are guaranteed either a Cloud or a Kentex Soul, which is kind of cool. It does mean that it's fully under your control. There, Orcs.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, please. That's all I ask. Mainly because I just really like Cloud Souls and Earth, Wind, and Fire. They're just the two things that make me happy in this world. And it'd be really cool to have one. I don't really like pollution that much. I was a big fan of Captain Planet back in the day.
That's valid.
Yeah. That's all right. Roulette does find a little bit of Ren damage towards Doran, as he does kick him out of the lane. But otherwise, it is just a pretty standard lane swap here. As we got Chovy making his way back as well. Chovy, after losing the flash, is now going to get it back up again and is completely fine, is even in farm as soon as he makes it back to the wave. And his past transgressions will not come back to haunt him.
Yeah, he doesn't get punished for it. I mean, Galio's not the easiest to punish just because he has the Justice Punch to get away, the Taunt to soak damage. But I always wonder in these situations, it's like, yes, nothing happened as a consequence of his flash being down, but what could have happened if his flash was up? Could he have found an angle to make a play? But to be honest, I think Fake has been playing the lane very well, not really giving any windows over. But now, Chovy has prior clears out the wave. We actually had Keen walking up here. So look, he's hovering around mid. It was Gen G who initiated the swap here, and they have 5 members on this side of the map. So if T1 opt in to contest this, they will have a bad time, and T1 instead say no. We've seen this coming. We're instead just going to allocate more gold to Doran here, allow him some alone time to get a plate, at least. And it does cost him 3 grubs, but I think T1 make the right read on the situation.
I think it's kind of awkward, though, right? Because now it's Gen G picking up every neutral objective so far here in this early game. I'm kind of waiting to see when T1's going to start pulling the trigger as this Vayne answer. Yes, he's ahead in a little bit of farm, but he's not ahead in gold. Keen is still very comfortable at this point in time. I think T1 do want to try to get either Doran going or make sure that they can keep down the members of Gen G so that this composition that can get completely out of hand come mid to late game is kind of kept in check a little.
Yeah, I think it's, as much as it's not ideal, they get the dragon and the grubs. I think reading the situation, not opting into it, because if you fight and you
sort of can't, but like maybe next time.
Yeah, I think if they can get this next dragon, that would be ideal.
Ooh,
and they
Duro has to flash again.
Duro. It's not a huge cost because often Ruler's going to be there to ult him, but it still obviously is a cost there. Duro not having that, can't use the hostile takeover flash to find opportunities. But yeah, dragon in 2 minutes. If T1 secured that one, it just buys them so much time. And you do have to be a bit careful, but I feel like 2-item spikes for this Gen G composition is whether they're really going to feel good. Kalista feels great around that time. Galio feels great around that time. Yeah. And it's really where the Jhin has kind of just struggled when you're trying to get towards those more significant 80 carry item buys. So...
yeah, especially for the Ghostblade build that FaZe looks like he's going for this time around.
Yeah.
Feels good for a first item, and then feels kind of bad for 3 items.
Honestly, I think just getting the Dirk early compared to if you go Stormrazor, you have to save it for the BF, which you often can't do. If you base and you come back with like just a scout slingshot and you're sitting on gold, nightmare. So that's kind of why we often see it, the Ghostblade, and it does make the build a little more awkward compared to just going like Stormrazor and then being able to finish out your crit items earlier on, like your IE and your last Whisper item. But it definitely, like, you get stronger laning. The trade-off, though, is that it takes a bit longer for you to come online. 55 seconds on that dragon.
Yeah, Chovy going to be clearing out this wave pretty comfortably. Faker is trying to put on some pressure, but doesn't quite have his shockwave back up and available just yet, and so it wasn't under too much threat, as we could see there. Keen just farming with Undertows here towards his top side, and actually now has a CS advantage against Doran. Vayne pick not necessarily a counter option that we're seeing right now. We'll see whether Doran can run amok in these team fights and lock down some targets. T1 are going to require, like, singling out a target and destroying them. Hextech Ultimatum, pretty good at that, right? Carrier is going to have a fair bit of agency as far as choosing a target that they want to die. But Duro, he might be exactly that target as they get on top of Ruler. He has the cleanse, looking to try and bounce his way out. There's the Fate's Call, looking to go back in, actually, as Canyon's making his way down. And this Galio getting closer and closer to in range. Still, they do get all the summoners out of Ruler. They get his ultimate as well. So it's not nothing that Gen G has to pay for this.
Looking for something here. Fishing for the idea, but I think T1 going to go in again on this play. And yeah, I think this is kind of what I was talking about with Duro's flash being down, not being as consequential, because even with this flash down, they have to go for Ruler because the Fate's Call is there. Now, Canyon, a bit of a difficult spot.
Yeah, Faker is going to pull the orb back. Nice little taunt there from Chovy, but they push them out of the river. T1 with some control now as Ona goes in, looks for the angle, there's the shockwave onto Ruler. He does get the bailout though, and there is the reset. Down goes two. Hostile Hextech Ultimatum, is going to be a triple kill here as Carrier had no way out. And Gen G are just kind of crushing him now.
5-1 for Ruler's Kalista, and T1, it's Ona who sees a window. He knows no summoners on the Kalista, but the bailout, the value there, so massive to allow Ruler to turn things around. And the skirmishing power of this Gen G composition in the mid-game is so hard to deal with. We'll see the replay here. So Canyon's a bit out of position, just trying to get the Scuttle Crab for some vision and disengage. And then Ona sees this window where Ruler stepped up. He knows he has no summoners. But the problem is the bailout being there and this hostile takeover value, the kick into it from Canyon.
God!
The turnaround is just flawless, and Ruler gets the resets, gets triple kill, and walks away from the play. It is going to be an Ocean Soul, which typically not the highest prior, but with a bulky composition like Gen G's, there is a good amount of value at least, but again, not as crazy as some other Souls could have been. But Gen G, They have a gold lead. They have a super fed Callista and 2 dragons in pocket. This is where they want their composition to be.
Yeah, and this is not what the soul was supposed to be, Daniel. I'm a little bit upset. It's not even your fault because it's not a Chemtech soul.
Yeah,
an Ocean soul instead. That's okay. Earth, Wind, and Fire will have to wait, and maybe just next time it does. As yeah, roll up here towards the top side. If there is any other way to understand that you have the main character energy, it is either to do this, just throw a whole bunch of axes at the GOAT and kill him. There's the flash to follow, and Keen is going to be able to pick up the solo bolo. Completely cut me off, and it is also going to make my point completely irrelevant, because what I was going to say is that Ruler's scoreline was the same as the top of your screen. Not anymore. Keen decided he just wanted to kill Faker.
And this is so rough for T1. Keen gets some extra gold. This was just kind of disrespectful from Faker. He actually used the movement speed boost to get in range. So he didn't have it to get away here, and he just gets run down. Can't even use the shockwave defensively. So Faker just disrespecting the Olaf and ends up paying for it.
That's a weird maneuver. But we are going to see another engage here towards this top side, but nothing really going to come from it. And Gen.G, I think they can just play this one out relatively slow. Chovy going to Justice Punch the wave, pushes that one into Pays as T1 are desperately just trying to get some chaos out of this game and lick their wounds before they come back and try again.
Yeah, I think the fact that it is the Ocean Soul at least is kind of the silver lining for T1, but they are definitely not in a good spot. And right now, contesting a fight against Gen.G, the problem is so often when you're playing against a team when you're behind, you're looking to try and pick targets off or kill vulnerable targets. But when you look at Gen.G's composition, there's not really any easy targets. As long as Gen.G are generally within the vicinity, the top side of the map is bulky and either has mobility, CC immunity, or, you know, Galio's Taunt is a great tool. And then for the bot lane, you have the bailout for Ruler and the Fate's Call for Duro that just makes it, unless someone's really isolated, it's hard to get a quick pick.
Well, T1 are on the Rift Herald. Now going to make Shelly feel impatient. She will just run on back to the pit. It looks like Gen.G are just going to be able to pick this one up where T1 started. She will charge her way out, but that ward at the back of the pit does give T1 the bad news. This one is just going to go over to Gen.G unless...
Owner's looking to ult.
They're going to try and find an angle. Yeah, Owner is looking to make his way in. Doran has already thrown down the ulti. There's the cleanse from Ruler. He might get put down to the bailout, but it is going to be a while before that comes in. They take him out before he can actually do anything. Carrier is the trade. Owner in a lot of trouble as well, but Keen is now being the carry. Misses that axe onto Pays, though. However, Chovy's still here. They're going to look for Duro. They should be able to take him down, and now Keen
the Herald!
Going to take the Herald exit. Going to use that to get the knock up. There's this Justice Punch. And now, will the Olaf be able to turn on a dime? Looks like no. The turning circle on Shelly does need to be improved. As there's the condemn out. Keen finds Pays and sacrifices himself for it.
Well, T1 managed to make a fight that ends up even, and the Herald, you know, gets to charge into the turret, but doesn't get a huge amount of value. They managed to find Ruler here, and the bailout doesn't get a chance to come through. The CC layer in first. The condemn from Doran is massive because it burns the cleanse, and then he's just in the shockwave. The shockwave value is massive. He doesn't get a chance to get a reset, and even though we start to see some Gen.G members cleaning up targets, Pays is free hitting this whole time. Doran doing a ton of work here on the Vayne.
Yeah, and this is exactly the kind of fight that T1 were looking for
That Herald in the fourth
with
shot,
this
was
composition.
crazy.
But this was this was kind of ridiculous. 280 carries versus 2 bruises is also kind of a funny situation here as well. As far as the rock, paper, scissors is concerned, it doesn't feel like it should be that fantastic for T1, but yeah.
But the shield, his 4 shots, that is like the Jhin nightmare. The first one was the Herald, the second one gets shielded by Keen.
Not great. But hopefully next time he can get those bullets in the gun a little bit quicker. Chovy does have those 2 items, of course. Pretty cheap is the Imperial Mandate, so that one gets put together already.
I think that's,
and he is really good to go now.
That's the thing, is that even though T1 got a great fight there, the item spikes for Gen.G are massive here. The point of the game for them is huge. And as much as you want to contest this dragon, it might be difficult. Also, when you look at the summoners...
Oh, yeah, Carrier going in, looking for a bit of an angle, but there is Keen right on top of him. Carrier flashes away. Canyon looks to get himself out as the Undertow does hit onto 2. Faker's teleported in. That is going to be the end of that little scuffle. Keen, without his Flash actually up and available, but we'll have it relatively soon, and Canyon did have to flash away.
Yeah, that's big value. Getting Canyon's flash and also Keen's ult. The Olaf just feels so awful trying to team fight without your ult available. So big pickups there.
Also didn't go Hexplate first, so went for the Strikebreaker first item instead of going for Hexplate a little bit earlier on, so it's going to be a little bit more of an issue as well.
Yeah, a bit longer without it. Although I guess not having it, like the value of the Hexplate is when you pop your ult, you get all those stats, so there's that side
that's
to it.
true. Yep.
That being said, it looks like Gen.G still going to maintain control of the area. They had a lot of vision here. And something that I feel like T1 have really lent into this year specifically is being willing to give over not even just dragons, but even souls when they don't think they are game losing. And I think this might be an example where T1 are like, look, Ocean Soul, it's going to help Gen.G, but do we automatically lose the game if they get it? And the answer is probably no.
And also, think about the entertainment value of flipping an Elder.
That is true. That's there. But we've seen T1 do it this year with Mountain Dragon, Mountain Soul as well.
Yep.
Where they've just gone, look, it's not great that they get it, but if we fight and lose, the game is actually over. So I think T1 making the right call here, not fighting in the Gen.G spikes. They did obviously get the flash from Canyon, but they just say, we can fight at a better time for us when we're really spiking, when we are really feeling comfortable.
Oh, we'll see when that is. That is the big question for me, Doran. Essence Reaver is on the way. He does have his Hexplate already done, and Faker wanted to hit probably about 3 items before he's really comfortable, but does already have that Blackfire Torch.
When you said, this is a question for me, Doran, it sounded like you were asking Doran this.
Ah, yes. Is it going to be a Essence Reaver, Doran? Can you let me know? Based on the items that we're seeing and what Vayne's generally build, I'm assuming so, but if he could let us know, that would be great.
I think that'll be it. So right now, Baron is spawning up pretty soon, and I believe it is the Huni Baron, so... Ooh. Oh, no, actually, it changed the Rift. It's to Terry.
Oh, Terry! I love Terry! Doran doesn't. Doran's going to get kicked into the wall and is not going to be having a great time. Yeah, you're into Lee Sin, so going invisible, not very helpful. So they take out the Vayne. Is this Baron time? No, it's not looking like Baron time.
Just as Baron spawned, they had the Calista and the Lee Sin to help secure, and it is Terry. It's the lower damage Baron. You could start this up and look to turn. T1 have to stop you from getting into smite range, because you will win that smite fight.
Yeah, and Chovy is also in this mid lane. He can always move over there, right, to help them out. So this Baron is still going. Keen with flash up and available, teleports in to try and find a flank angle, and T1 are kind of exactly where Gen.G want them. There's the Fates call in. Look at this. Olaf rocketing into the backline. Hextech ultimatum from Carrier, though. He looks to try and escape. He will be taken down, but they do at least stop the Baron for now.
So big summoners burn by both sides, to be honest, but Faker and Pays down flash. But honestly, Gen.G not happy with how that panned out. They definitely wanted way more than just a support kill with this turn. We do see this play onto Doran in the top side. Good dodge on the axe, but it just means nothing when Lee Sin's going to kick you into the wall. And then we see with the Baron, if you look at the setup from Gen.G, even though obviously they get a kill for nothing, but the flash is in, the commit. They wanted Faker and Pays to die here, and it would have just meant Baron. And instead walking away with 1 kill, it's just a bit of a disappointment compared to what could have been. And I think Gen.G had the right setup, but I think T1 responding well there. It's still a massive lead for Gen.G though, but obviously when you're playing into things like this Vayne, you would always love to be able to push the pace of the game faster.
Well, speaking of the Vayne, looking for an angle towards Keen here. Doesn't have the ultimate for another 3 seconds. Ona makes his way in the Condemn to push him away, and there's a Silver Bolts to finish him off. Really good counter kill here for T1.
And there you go. The lack of ult on Keen makes him super vulnerable. No flash either. Doran's setting that one up nicely, and an extra bit of gold in his pocket will be appreciated.
Certainly will. And now a teleport to get Chovy here towards his bottom side. He smelt farm, and he will be able to pick it up. Chovy just quietly sitting at 205 with a 1.5k gold lead, feeling absolutely fantastic on this Galio, looking for item number 3, which should be the Zhonya's Hourglass, giving him a bit of extra armor, all of that, like the stasis. This like Galio build is super tanky and will start doing a lot of damage as he gets the next couple of items. Not to mention, all of his cooldowns immediately come back up again. That's cool, isn't it? Isn't it cool to just have your abilities up all the time?
It's very cool. It's very advantageous.
Yeah. It's weird. I thought we put cooldowns into the game for a reason, but as it turns out, you only put them into the game to remove them via the Imperial Mandate.
There you go. And he hasn't gone the Abyssal Mask this game. We often saw him going like Abyssal Mask Imperial Mandate. I think that's the right call when there's just like no other magic damage on your team.
Singular Galio going to be reducing that magic resist.
Yeah, it's a bit greedy to be like, oh, but it does damage. Okay, but only for you.
Yeah.
But the Imperial Mandate value, kind of crazy. Now, Dragon in 30 seconds. And I think what makes this worrisome for T1, other than the gold differential, is the lack of flash on Faker and Pays. So approaching this one has to be carefully thought out because, you know, Canyon still has his flash. And if he finds an angle to kick Pays in, that might just be Dragon, Soul, and then Baron in the game.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I think if they lose one of these carries, there are 3 of them. So they do have carries to spare on the side of T1. But I do think as soon as the phalanx starts to fall apart, Genji's composition just runs you down.
They are good at that. Now, Dragon is up, and they are trying to get set up for it. But you can see Chovy moving in to try and get control of this Banana Brush.
Yeah, Keen going to get spot out here. A lot of vision defensively around the backside of this Dragon Pit. T1 know exactly what's going on. The Olaf will be able to move his way in. Ruler, we're going to just soften up that mid lane wave. You're going to connect here from Canyon. The Dragon down relatively low. Let's see who is actually going to go for this fight. As there's the kickback. They get rid of the smite. There's the soul over to Genji. Shockwave is on to Canyon, though. He gets bailed out, but I don't think he's getting a reset. So down goes the Lee Sin. Doran is able to block the Justice Punch, and Chovy's put into the ultimatum. That's 2 kills. And they do manage to get the hostile takeover out, but it's all just used defensively here as Genji just look to run away.
And Genji try and play it cute and just get the Dragon, get out, but T1 do not let it happen. They take down Canyon, and then Chovy is to follow, and now it's them who can move onto this Baron. And Genji, you still have the ult on Olaf, but you lost the hostile takeover. I think it makes it really difficult to contest this one.
There is still a Fate's Call, I guess, so Duro does have a little bit more flexibility about where he can be. Faker off to the side, though. Deadly Flourish comes in. These health bars are so low! And now Keen is just trying to work out a way in. He can't really find it, though, as we can see. Carrier might die to the Baron, but Owner is still looking relatively healthy. And Genji, they'll back away. It's a T1 Baron at 25 minutes.
Faker's position there was so good at just providing that threat on the side. So Genji have to call, have to retreat. And look, the Ocean Soul is nice for Genji, but the gold swing that T1 got in the Baron is just worth so much more on their odds of winning this game. The route here that comes in, the Shockwave follow-up, just guarantees Canyon's death. And then we see Doran moving up here, and just they have no tools left to hold him accountable.
This was so cool from Doran as well, like blocking the Justice Punch, making sure that Chovy was definitely going to go down. T1 were able to get that follow. I think a lot of this game was going to hinge on Owner and what he was going to be able to get done. So far in a lot of these fights, he has been absolutely pivotal here for T1. Kind of reminds me of his performance game 1 in their first game of the LCK Roadshow earlier this week against DK. He was unstoppable. Similar performance here now.
And honestly, Doran has faced a lot of criticism recently and has, I'd say, been underperforming this year relative to last year, but this game has been on fire on this vein.
Especially mid to late game, right? Even though the early laning phase didn't go so well, didn't get to him. I feel like that has been like Doran's superpower his whole career.
Yeah.
Is
really
just like, he just keeps a level head. It doesn't bother him if things go horribly wrong.
And the thing is, it's so important into this Genji composition that is bulky, that does take, you know, a couple of clips of Jin bullets to actually cut through, is that you are the DPS in this composition. There is damage from other members, of course, but you're the one who can just consistently, if you're alive, you can keep shredding anyone who comes in front of you.
Cool. Area was just bouncing on the wall for a moment and is just going to get thrown over it.
So the Baron was obviously secured by T1, but they haven't been able to get that much value from it yet. There's still a lot of towers up for Genji. And Genji been doing a decent job of covering their bases. We do now see that top lane tower fall, but it's matched here in the bot lane.
Yeah, 1 for 1 as far as those turrets are concerned. They've taken an extra 400 gold after just the money you get from killing Baron. So the Rebel Baron power play, not exactly out of control at this point in time. And so Genji, I think, will be able to just recenter themselves and try once again. The gold lead is gone, though. Yeah, there is an Ocean Soul. But this is going to be like even footing going into an Elder fight that's exceptionally early into the game.
Yep. And honestly, I think T1 are starting to feel more and more comfortable. They have the Mortal Reminder on Pays, which even without the Ocean Soul would have been a good buy into this composition, but it's a pretty great buy. The only concern is I don't think he'll be able to hit Infinity Edge before we get to that Elder fight. Even with the fact he didn't go Rapid Fire Cannon like we often see our Jins do. So
yeah, maybe if he gets like a pentakill, he might be able to do it. And if anyone's going to get a pentakill just out of nowhere, it's Pays. He is the best at it, statistically, out of any other player in the world.
Honestly, depending on how much gold he is, he might have to go that Rapid Fire for just to have an item rather than sitting on components, as bad as it feels for that Elder fight. But we'll see. Obviously, getting IE finish is very important, but that Elder fight is going to be a make or break moment, you got to imagine.
Yep.
And I think what's key is that Elder doesn't do much damage, the dragon itself, and you have an Ocean Soul, a bulky comp, and a Callista. So Genji can just sit on the dragon as long as they want, stack up the spears, and pretty much guarantee it if they have access to the pit and control of it. So for T1, it's really important to prevent that from happening. If Genji gets situated, you might not get a chance to really push them out again, especially when you're engaging into things like the hostile takeover. If they just pull a fast one, rend into Lee Sin, execute into Smite, and then you're scrambling to find an opportunity to contest, it could just mean the end of the game.
Yeah, this is the difficult part. I think Duro is going to be such a key part of how Genji set up for a lot of these objectives, getting this hostile takeover in the right spot. And I don't think T1 can actually start this up. Like, that's the awkward thing, is you do want to have control of the river, but you also don't want to be first to the objective because then you're all stacked up, ready for a hostile takeover to fly on over, ready for a Galio to land on top of you. There are a lot of difficult things. Bit of a tightrope here for T1. At least they are known for the circus, so maybe tightropes are something they're relatively used to.
There's some close to item breakpoints that are kind of rough. Keen nearly has Death Stance, but doesn't. Canyon nearly has GA, but doesn't. Faker nearly has Rabadons, but doesn't. Feels kind of bad not being able to complete those big breakpoints for these champions going into this Elder situation.
Yeah, 6 seconds. It doesn't matter what's in your inventory. You're still going to need to fight for it because if you are back home, the bad guys will probably take the thing. Ruler, though, will be able to clear out this wave very comfortably. A whole bunch of captive audiences in the area, but not in the river right now, as Genji do move themselves back into that fog of war.
You know, we saw the last fight, even though Canyon did secure the dragon, he ended up going down pretty quick afterwards. The fact that he doesn't have the GA, if he gets targeted down and Genji lose their smite, it could be devastating for them. Now, T1 have kind of moved down through this bot lane, and we've seen Doran get Prio to allow them control of this area, but they just have no real vision on the other side where Genji have control.
Oh, Terminus and Rabadons! What the heck, Chobi?
Those are big spikes. Big resets coming in from Genji, and you see how the rest of the team are just trying to slow things down, hold the area, and get their completions in before the objective gets started.
That's crazy that he actually manages to go back and complete that. He only had one rod. I thought he was going to build his Zhonya's. He didn't. He had enough money to just complete the whole hat. He's still got the arm guard sitting there.
Having Rabadons and Seekers just feels like a cheat code. It's like you got the benefit of both items.
Yeah, it's like the old items on his ring, which was just both. Just kind of cute. He is now going to get caught, though. Does use that arm guard that he picked up. Let's see whether he can keep himself alive, though. The answer is absolutely not. T1, they managed to get the pick, and they'll get a free Olaf as well. A massive blunder here from Genji, as T1 should be able to get Elder as well.
Huge pick there by T1, able to set up the play, able to find Chobi and Keen to follow, and that's just Elder, and you can take Baron immediately after this.
Yeah, they're pinging the bottom side of the map, but they could take the Purple Worm if they feel like it. T1 now move to a gold lead, and I guess this was their plan all along. Give up the entirety of the Dragon Soul, and then just take the Elder when it comes up.
Doran, such a good play. So similar to the pick he got onto Keen earlier. The CC follow-up from Pays is there, and then we get the jump in from Keria, but notably, Keria saves the Hextech ultimatum, which just completely ruins Keen's day. Beautiful setup there. They're going to get Baron as well, and now Genji. They have an Ocean Soul, but they're playing into Baron and Elder. I don't think that Ocean Soul really matters.
Doesn't feel that good anymore, as there is, you know, 2 parts of Exodia picked up here by T1, and they'll now use it to take down all of these turrets. They've only taken 2 structures so far. in this game. This gold lead, this Rebel Baron power play is going to be ridiculous here in this moment. That Death Dance is finally done here for Keen.
Oh,
feels a little bit too late, and oh my goodness.
He actually bought the rapid fire and then refunded it and then waited for the IE gold. So I guess he was like, I can actually wait and have enough. But him having IE is massive. Faker now has the Rabadons. Yes, you've had spikes come in for Gen G, but T1 is so strong, and you know, they gave up so many dragons this game and it just hasn't mattered. This has been the MO this year. If it's not going to lose us the game, we can sacrifice it, pick a better time, and boy, did they find a better time.
And they are just making this composition work, man. Finding the pick angles, just dissecting the Gen G composition that does really want to fight 5v5, but it doesn't manage to do that if you kill a couple of them before the rest can show up. And so now, T1 just going to push on through. Doran on the top side of the map has already gotten an inner turret. Inner going to fall in the mid lane as well. The outer fell a while ago. That is what has propelled this gold lead, or the Rebel Baron power play, at least to 3,000. 3.6 is going to be that overall lead that they've picked up for themselves.
I mean, that's the thing. With the last Baron, T1 hadn't taken that many structures. Now they get to pick up a bunch, get a ton of gold, and it's so hard for Gen G to contest right now. 25 seconds on the Elder. That's the timer we're waiting for, but I'm still kind of worried even after the Elder vanishes. T1 are getting stronger and stronger right now. Level 20 Vayne, by the way, to a level 17 Olaf.
My goodness, how did it get to that point? Doran completely out of control right now, as they are looking to siege this one out. 4 seconds, and then T1 will not have that Elder buff anymore. Gen G, they know it. Looking for a bit of an angle. T1 do not give it to them. And it seems like this tightrope is something that T1 have been built to walk.
So many structures being able to be picked up here by T1. Look at that gold swing that comes out. And the thing is, they're going to feel comfortable as the game goes on. Doran even picked up an LDR there, which isn't a typical Vayne item, but will give him a lot of shred into these tankier champions on the side of Gen G. That tumble auto will hit like a truck, even onto these bulkier targets.
And now, Chovy's got a broken arm guard. Kind of would have liked the Zhonya's if he knew that that's how things... Oh, never mind, he finishes the Zhonya's now, and so does have that stasis up and available for the next fight. Could be a big deal. Was actually mowing down a whole lot of the farm as it made its way in, as Pays possibly out of position, but Doran does get that ward down.
Yeah, this is the point where Gen G can defend a bit more aggressively, because the Baron's obviously going to push in, but they can buy some time for it. And T1 don't just auto-win any fight on the back of the Elder. They will be able to eventually push down this tower, but the Baron's going to time out. It's a lot of structures to have taken on the back of that Baron. Huge amount of gold given over to T1. And things are looking pretty grim for Gen G right now. But the game is still going. And there is going to be another Elder spawn in 2 minutes. Oh, not again!
Again, the shockwave is going to come down. At least Chovy goes golden. But can he even flash out of this? The answer is absolutely not. It's curtains for Chovy. And T1 find a pick. They might even be able to break open this bottom side of the base.
And Doran's just been playing this assassin role, hiding in these brushes, coming out with the condemn. You know, Faker's the one who's hide on bush, but Doran's been doing it this game.
Oh, he certainly has. And man, we've been seeing these Vaynes struggle to find the advantages in these Olaf lanes. I guess I hadn't seen what Doran was capable of, because he is playing like a man possessed here today.
He's playing Vayne like Teemo, and it's working so well.
Oh, man. And he's also 10 out of 11 as far as kill participation is concerned. That is not a Vayne stat that's often very high.
Yeah.
You know, you're generally the one in a side lane while the rest of your team are doing stuff.
I love how the fact, like, Faker's recalling and then cancels it to hit the... Like, it looks so, like, oh, there's a wave. I guess I'll just cancel my recall. Yeah. It feels so set up. And then, once again, Ona flies in with the ultimate. Pays opens up with a curtain call. That was some great acting. That was Oscar level.
Yeah, well, Canyon might need to kick Carrier away here, but they do call down the Galio. And now Hostile Takeover comes in, hits onto 3. They're doing so much damage to each other. What the heck? Yeah. Doran almost just murdered Ona.
Honestly, Doran is so strong right now, but that can be a cause for concern.
Yeah.
With the Hostile Takeover. It nearly just shredded his teammates, and
someone needs to build a McHale's.
Unfortunately for Gen G, that was actually a decent fight angle for them, but Ruler wasn't there, Keen wasn't there. So even though the rest of the team did a lot of setup to make that a potential good fight, without the 5 members there, without the follow-through, it ends up just being T1 taking a bit of damage and sheepishly backing away. And now 15 seconds on that Elder, and no hostile takeover available for Duro. That massive tool not on the cards.
This is a scary one. However, if Gen G are all grouped up, they are still very frightening. Let's see what T1 can actually make happen here as Gen G defending this mid wave. Does have the supers coming down. Winds of War coming on through here as Chovy just hunting. See what he can find. Spotting out Doran there on that flank angle is definitely a good idea as Canyon was spotted. Moving into the enemy jungle. Spotted out once again here as the Blast Cone does get Owner over there. And now the kickback onto the Pantheon, but they've taken out the Lee Sin once again. They're going to get separated and executed as Duro trying to get some shields onto Ruler. He just wants to hop around the fight as the handshake is decent, but there's the curtain call. Carrier goes in, flashes out, smoke and mirrors here from T1. Justice punch onto Owner, and they will get him down to the GA, but Keen is just running for his life as Faker is looking to get on top of him and will be able to take him down. Hostile takeover does manage to come in.
They get them!
Pops around the battlefield and takes out the remainder of T1. Carrier and Faker running for the hills. And Gen G, I mean, they can take an Elder if they'd like, but my God, I don't think we're going to live through this series if the rest of the games are like this.
Carrier and Faker still alive to try and buy time for their team, but it's so long when the death time is 40 seconds. Canyon's up in 10, and with an Ocean Soul, they're just going to sustain up off this Elder.
And Ruler's got Randuins and Jack shows. He's actually a tank
They have
right
to
now.
pull it off. And Duro, I was watching during that fight the hostile takeover timing, and as soon as it came back up, he got such insane value from it. This was a fight that I felt like T1 just had in the bag. They pick off Canyon at the start, and he gets stunned, even tries to get the control ward down, but the route from Pays is massive. They commit a lot of resources to take him out with a shockwave as well, though. Doran doesn't get the condemn on Ruler, but creates a lot of chaos, baits out the ult from Keen. But then as they kite out, you can see the time ticking on Duro's ult, and that was the turning point in this fight. We see Great Peel onto the Pantheon who jumps on a Ruler. Ruler is pretty bulky, even with all the damage going out, but it's this moment with Duro, the ult's back up, and look at the value of the flash.
Oh my God!
Every remaining member, apart from Faker, who was up to the side, gets hit by it, and it just instantly turns the fight in Gen G's favor. And now they're onto this Baron. It's reverse. Earlier we saw Elder and Baron going over to T1. This time Gen G take it, and they have the soul as well.
Yep, this is real Exodia to come through from Gen G as they do also have that Ocean Soul completed. Baron goes down to 18 health, which that's frightening.
Yeah.
But they still do manage to take that one down. No vision available for T1.
Bought some time there because he was holding his ult for a long time, so they held the Baron. And even though it sounds really minor, but an extra 10, 15 seconds that his ult bought by stalling them out makes a big difference when you have to stall out against this mega push.
And now it's Gen G's turn. Let's see whether this is going to work. You don't have Keen there. He does have teleport up and available. He's just going to be pushing this bottom wave in. Top wave stacking up as well. So Gen G, once they've dealt with mid and bot lane, they should have that wave moving forward. As, oh my goodness.
The static Shiv with the Elder is disgusting.
That is not allowed, man. Okay. I guess that's why. It also feels really good as a first item on Kalista.
Yeah. That being said,
I'm going to start playing Kalista now, man. This build's fun.
Elder Dragon down to 48 seconds.
Yeah, haven't been able to pick up too much. Their waves were not in phenomenal positions.
And Keen has just had to push this entire bot wave.
Yeah.
So T1 doing a good job of stalling, buying time. They'll lose this tier 2, but it's a very small price to pay. 30 seconds is what T1 need to buy before they can look for a fight. They might end up sacrificing this tower mid.
Well, Canyon is going to get pushed away. This tower is going to fall. See whether they can actually get the inhibitor as well. There is a siege minion here, and it looks like the inhibitor is going to be made short work of.
Oh, they're losing a bit more, though. It's still 12 seconds, and they have to lose another inhibitor, at least the tower. Yeah, I think the inhibitor's just gone, so big cost there. 5 seconds on the Elder.
Gen G still pushing forward. And look at that, the Winds of War just tags Doran, and he takes so much damage from it.
It's gone now, though.
Well, yeah, there we go. T1 have managed to wait it out, but Gen G are still sticking around. Baron's still up and available for another minute. And now Canyon taking a fair bit there. Shockwave does come down. He's still got his GA. That has come back off cooldown now.
Yeah, Ocean Soul as well going to help with the sustain here if you can connect any abilities. but the Shockwave was committed. He was trying to catch Ruler. Now the ult from the Jhin.
Yeah, Curtain Call does come on through, just trying to soften up the members of Gen G and push them away.
This is big. Lots of cooldowns burned by T1. 3 major ultimates unavailable. Gen G in a real position of power now.
Yep, and Ruler just able to bounce around this fight. Doran and Faker looking for a bit of an angle here off to the side. As T1 just doing their very best to deal with these waves. Top inhibitor turret does now fall as Chovy deals with that one. And with 3 siege minions and 20 seconds left on this Baron, it's going to be 3 inhibitors down and only 1 Nexus turret to defend. And there is the kick from Canyon! Immediately the bottom lane has been taken out, and Gen G, they've decided the game 1 is theirs! They will be able to get 2 off the map real quick. There goes the Nexus! What an absolute barn burner for